Hey guys, Dustletter Magic here, and it's time to make yet another Kaladesh pre-release video. I realized when I was making the other one, it was pretty high level, a lot of math, a lot of percentages, a lot of advanced tactics, with the assumption that you already know how to play Magic and are a common standard player. Well, if that's true, you've probably been to a pre-release. So that fit nicely because, if you've been to one but now you want to do better, that was the video for you. Well, this is the video for somebody who has never been to a pre-release. So if you have been to one, there is, seriously, no joke, nothing in this video that's going to help you at all. You should definitely instead go look for the way older video where we built a bulletproof vest out of MTG cards and then shot it with a whole bunch of guns. Why does that video have so few views? It is a freaking legend. Go find that and watch it instead. For those of you who are like, yes, I'm going to my first pre-release, here's the video for you. So how it works, and this does vary from local gaming store to local gaming store, although this is Wizard specification on how they're supposed to run the event, so it at the very least should resemble this. You should show up, at least 15 minutes early, and what I would bring are 1 pack of sleeves, preferably like a 50 pack, so you could cheap out and just buy a 50, It's like, why the hell do they sell them in 50 packs when, MTG decks are 60, but your deck has to be 40 cards or more for this particular type of event. So if you had 60 or you bought like an 80 pack or 100 or whatever, and then some split and whatever you don't have enough, just use your old sleeves. I mean, you're only going to use them for 1 day. You really do need sleeves. It is impossible to play like 4 rounds without somehow marking or nicking your cards. And you don't want to do it because of the card value, and you don't want to do it because then your cards are considered to be marked. So definitely bring a pack of sleeves, or be nice and pick up the sleeves at your local gaming store. Although if everybody does that, they might legitimately sell out. But come on, it's a staple item. I mean, they probably have thousands. And then for politeness, another thing you should bring is your own lands. Just bring, I believe, what do I tell people? I think 18 of every color of land. You can actually probably get away with a land pack from a fat pack. You're going to be building 1 deck on the fly, so everybody's going to need lands. And the typical way that store will handle this is they have 1,000 rental lands, and they're supposed to give them back at the end of the night. You don't want to wake up the next morning and go to the next F&M and figure out that you forgot to give them back. And at 5 or 6 in the morning or something, you really don't want to unsleeve all the lands in your deck after already, completing the whole event. So it's much nicer to just use your own land. So, bring enough to cover a mono deck, which would never happen, which is about 18 max of every single color. If you have about 100 sleeves or 80, I forgot the exact number. Oh no, it would be about 100. You can pre-sleeve all of the lands. That way you got 15 to 18 less lands to sleeve when you build your deck. Little time saver tip there. You don't actually need a life die, but it would be nice to bring counters, and for Kaladesh specifically, I would bring something to represent energy counters. Pokemon energy cards are hilarious. Everybody's pretty much settled on using those. And then, just some D6s or whatever to use as normal counters, whatever you usually use at Friday Night Magic, bring the same thing. Now, they actually do give you a life die in your pre-release pack, so if you forget that, there you go. Otherwise, piece of paper and a pencil, not a big deal. And that's really all you need to bring. That and, whatever it costs, 20, 30 bucks or whatever. Oh, and you might want to bring some caffeine, but, personally, I would keep it under 150 milligrams. Medically, you will start hallucinating if you're tired and have over 200 milligrams. That is a scientifically proven fact. So you don't want to be in the middle of the game, oh yeah, I'm going to play this. Spiders! Boom! And then smash a really expensive card. That's not a good idea. So now that you know what to bring, I should probably say what's actually going to happen. Like I said, you get some packs and you build a deck and then compete with it. So it's an on-the-fly building thing, which is why it's so fun, so fair, such a level playing field. Everybody's, equal. Nobody's oh, I spent more on my deck, so it's better. None of that. That's why I love these events. So you will get a pre-release pack right at 12:01 midnight, assuming you're going to the first pre-release. And you can open them, and what you will get is 6 booster packs from Kaladesh and 1 extra clear foil packet with 1 foil card in it. The foil card will be date stamped with September 24th on it, I believe. And it's guaranteed to be a rare or a mythic. So between all the packs, not counting potential for pulling foils, you'll have 7 rare or mythic. Other than that, there's 6 regular boosters. They are not sorted any different way. They're not seeded with extra mythics or, special tokens, none of that. They're just straight up boosters like you'd get out of a box. So as soon as you open them, or usually including the time to open them, you'll have 30 minutes to build your deck. And that goes by quick, considering I take like 2 days to build most of my decks. Now, as far as what to put in the deck, I mean, that's my whole other video pretty much. The super short version is bigger than average, more powerful than average, and special creatures, like a 2/2 for 2 that also has lifelink, or also has death touch, or also is flying, or something like that, or like a 3/2 for 2, or something that has optionality or counters and can come back out of the graveyard. Just something special. That would be the color I would lean towards. Number one mistake people make is too many spells, not enough creatures. You cannot win the game without creatures. This is like old school classic Magic. I'm going to beat you in the face with creatures till you're at 0. There's no clever combos or alternate win conditions in general. It's just I'm going to summon stuff and try to hit you with it. So creature pin down, removal, exile, anything like that, ambush, anything like that that gets your opponent's creatures off the field means that yours are still there and able to swing and you'll win the game. Anything that's a persistent effect automatically beats something that's a temporary one and done effect too, obviously. Like if you get an equipment that says, +2/+2 to equipped creature, you can put that on every creature till the game ends. You pay for it once and it's a persistent effect, not including the equip. So if you have something that says, during every one of your upkeeps, do this, there you go. You didn't have to pay for it. It's a recurring effect. It's automatically pretty good. If you just have a one and done spell, it's like, give creature 3 damage. That's it. Goes to the graveyard. No flashback, rebound, nothing. It's just you cast it, it's done. Okay, it's useful because you can blow up a creature, but it's less desirable than recurring effects and free effects and triggers and ongoing triggers. Be smart about it though, because honestly, just a single kill spell is extremely powerful, so don't underestimate one and done spells if they're really good. You want your creatures to have as much evasion as possible to avoid their removal, so hexproof, to keep them from being targeted, any kind of indestructible protection from certain colors, even just flying, so that they can't block it. That's not really evasion, but, it's effective damage. And I would say effective damage includes, death touch because they don't want to block it, trample because then they kind of have to block it and it wouldn't matter if they did. Creatures with activated abilities that make them bigger so you can pay to make them bigger, stuff like that. Very, very good cards to include. Almost all decks are going to end up being 2-color. It's virtually impossible to pull off mono. It's almost impossible to pull off mono plus colorless. And honestly, without really good color fixing, it's almost impossible to pull off 3-color. I've seen people do it, but it's going to backfire like 10 to 20% of the time, and you'll just get stuck with like a red card and no red mana, and it's going to be a disaster. But if all of your colors suck, you might have to resort to that. Now, as for the number of lands to put in the deck, I would say bare minimum of 15, and that would be if your whole damn deck costs 1 and 2 and there's only a couple 3s, which probably isn't even that good of a deck. If you have nothing that costs 1 or 2 and everything's like 3 to 5 and maybe even 6, you might want to go as high as 18 lands. That means that on turn 4, you are almost guaranteed at that point to have 4 lands on the field, just mathematically. So then you do a whole lot of nothing for the first couple turns and no problem. After that, you just run them over with giant creatures and they're bigger than theirs. You can swing every turn and you win the game. So that is an acceptable strategy. It would never work in standard constructed though. Now, one more thing is, according to the official Wizards rules, you are allowed to modify your deck in between rounds. So if something just isn't working, take somebody who's been playing forever and somebody you trust and get their advice on what you should swap out. Or just review it yourself and think what in the last couple games and rounds didn't work. What combo is failing to go off, or what card just isn't as good as you thought, or what card did you completely misread and it doesn't actually do what you think. And by the way, between the games in each individual round, every single card you opened is part of your sideboard, and an unlimited pool of lands is part of your sideboard. So if you build a blue-red deck, and blue just isn't working against your opponent, you can pull all the blue cards, all the blue lands, and sideboard in like 20 cards. There's no 15-card limit on the sideboard. Just sideboard in blue, take out blue, sideboard in black. You kind of have to build 1.5 decks, so it's not the greatest idea, but, you might be able to get that done after round 1, build another 50% of a deck and just have one be like super fast creature speed damage, and then the other one is like super cautious overtime control, and just whatever you feel fits the best, sideboard accordingly. And you can completely rebuild your deck between rounds. You can't just say, oh, I'll just mod it, I'll tweak a couple cards. You're not limited to that. If you want, you can rebuild the whole damn deck. Just ditch the whole thing, choose a different color, and rebuild it. Other than that, it's typically, 4 or 5 rounds. Your local gaming store may choose to do win a round, win a booster, or if your score is 3-2 or better, you win like 3 boosters. If you go 4-1, you win like 8 boosters, and then if you go 5-0, you win like, a fraction of a box or an entire box. I've seen people do that. Either way, usually they make it so that if you don't do absolutely terrible, you'll end up with some sort of prize. And most of all, this is not a competitive type of thing. I mean, yeah, there's prizes and it only comes around once in a while, but it's still not like a PPTQ or a GP. That's preliminary Pro Tour qualifier or a Grand Prix tournament, by the way. So that's the pre-release in a nutshell. You just show up, you got 6 boosters plus an extra rare, you build a deck within 30 minutes and play with it for, 3 to 5 rounds, I guess. The winners get some prizes and everybody laughs about it because, usually it's not the most fair based on your card pool. I've taken like those 6 worst boosters in human history and just built some garbage deck that was barely salvageable and went like 2-3. And I've built a Gisela deck last time and just absolutely dominated with it. I mean, some people, like, they literally just pulled the werewolf deck. They did that for Eldritch Moon. They were like, I pulled 20 werewolves plus the werewolf boosting rares. Yay. So luck in your card pool has a ton to do with it, but I would say that because the decks are so not powerful, they're so powered down, your decisions and proper play and casting spells at the proper time, that has a huge influence on who wins the round. So you could just outplay people with a mathematically and empirically worse deck. Oh, I can't even talk today. I did not get enough sleep. So my goal for the pre-release, considering my sleep patterns were all screwed up because my alarm didn't go off at the right time, I'm kind of sick to my stomach from some bad food I ate, and unfortunately, I have a badly dislocated rib that couldn't get fixed in time for the weekend. Yay. So my goal for the pre-release is to get through it without starting a physical confrontation with anybody. Or any squirrels on the way home. Dude, those squirrels, though. Those squirrels. So hopefully that helps all of you out. If anybody has any questions about the pre-release, I will definitely answer them down in the comments section. I'm sure I forgot all kinds of stuff because I've been to so many, it's kind of a given. But the best thing I can leave you with at the end here is do not be intimidated by it. Don't be afraid to ask questions, ask people around you, get their advice. People should be cool enough to help you out. Have fun at your pre-release, and I'll see you guys next video.